Hi, Natalia. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm amazing, but I know that you've had an incredible month. Was that this month, this sale? For anyone who's familiar with the title, you guys will probably already have read. Natalia had an amazing sale. Was that this month?
Yes, that was a couple of weeks ago.
Awesome. And what genre specifically?
That was boudoir slash goddess portraits.
Cool. And what's goddess? Like, how would that be different from like a regular boudoir studio?
Honestly, it's not a huge difference for me, at least. The only difference would be just playing up the set, setting it up, and also popping a crown on someone's head. That is what goddess is for me, and a little bit more ethereal than the typical boudoir kind of poses, I guess.
Gotcha. Yeah. And by the way, I have your website links if you're listening or you're on some sort of other place watching this or even live. Your work is like out of this world. So before we even get to the sale, obviously there's like a long journey to get here. Yeah. How long were you doing like the goddess stuff before? Were you doing other portrait genres? And like, yeah, how did you end up with boudoir?
Yeah, so I started my photography journey. Well, this was back in the days, taking photos of food. And then I got bored just because they don't talk to me. They look pretty, but they don't talk to me. So I'm like, okay, well, let me just try taking photos of people. And then I found it quite enjoyable. I'm like, okay, this is promising. So I did a lot of, so throughout the years, I was doing fashion, conceptual portraits, events, weddings, the typical stuff, everything except pets and babies, because I could not for the life of me do that. So much respect for all of you, like maternity, baby, newborn photographers. So much respect for you guys. And then 2019, I was doing a lot of events and weddings and fashion. And then end of 2019 was when I graduated from uni. So when I finished my degree, I was like, oh, what else should I do? Should I continue like events, weddings? I didn't really enjoy that just because my body it would not let me sustain 8 to 10, 12 hours of event like wedding work. So I thought to myself, oh, should I just drop everything and just focus on boudoir and focus on portraits? But then that was scary because then that was my bread and butter back then. And then COVID hit. So when COVID hit, I took it as a sign. I'm like, well, okay, I'll take this as a sign. And there's no events, there's no weddings. I'm from Melbourne, Australia, for you guys who don't know. So we're so far one of the most locked down cities in the world. So we've made it. We made it out, thankfully. And yeah, so I started doing portrait slash boudoir at the end of 2020 when we reopened after almost half a year of lockdown on that year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna remember that. But what did you study in university? Was it like photography related or yeah?
Oh, I did psychology and I did a master's in social work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's very different.
So like the whole time you were like also like working on photography and all these other genres. And like, did you ever think as you were going through school, like you were actually going to do one of those careers? Or did you always kind of know you wanted to do photography?
No, I have an Asian mom, I think mom for y'all who shared the same experience. She told me before I started doing my master's, if you want to pursue photography, then don't study masters. And I'm like, no, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm still gonna study. So yeah, I just put it on the side and I studied, graduated, made her happy, and now just doing a little bit of both, I guess, which has been working so far, still okay, still
Wait, so
manageable.
you're still working full time? You're working in the field?
Yeah, a little bit. So I work in private practice at the moment. So it's
Oh, wow.
very flexible. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
it's great that way. Yeah.
And are you ever like gonna just go all one, or you're just gonna keep doing both?
I don't know. I get bored really, really easily though. So I feel like I need at least two things to keep me sane and just to keep me interested because I know if I just do one thing, I'll get bored like much quicker.
And your mom must be really proud of you.
Yeah, he doesn't say anything much now. Now that like I get to show her, like, yes, I can take care of myself. You don't have to worry about me. That kind of thing. But yeah, so far it's been great.
Yeah, how is that dynamic? Like, I definitely understand the sentiment. My mom was very upset I joined the Marines. And even when I got to certain levels in my career, I got to special operations. My mom on my graduating day was like, son, your brother, your cousins and them, they're pharmacists and engineers. Like, when are you going to go to school? And my stepdad was like, Emma, like, leave him alone. He's doing something nobody else does. And I just remember thinking about like, mom, like, relax, like, I'm okay. But it was even when I got to things, my mom was always so. How is it for your mom? Like, what did it take? Or, is she, yeah.
I think I know she wants the best for me. And especially during the pandemic, I was really, really glad that I still have the other side gig, like, as a social worker.
Oh, yeah.
Just during the lockdowns, because then like I wasn't able to take on clients. Well, I can take clients, which I did, but I couldn't shoot. So she told me, oh, see, just in case in the future there's another pandemic or like whatever, you still have something a little bit more stable. I'm like, okay, mom, we'll just keep it that way for now, and then we'll see where life takes me in the future.
Yeah. So this was 2022. Did you already have like a portfolio for Boudoir or?
By 2020, you mean?
Oh, sorry, by 2020.
Like,
Yeah. Did you already have like a portfolio or like you were just shooting your first sessions?
I have my portfolio for portraits and conceptual portraits, like more on the fashion side of things, but not boudoir per se, because I've dipped my toes in boudoir. The second time that I did it, I'm like, it's not, it's, oh well, like it doesn't excite me. It wasn't until one of my friends. So she came from a very similar background as like me, and she wanted to celebrate her journey, I guess, as a woman and as someone who'd gone through a lot of life challenges. And she told me, if I'm going to do something like this for myself, I'm going to do it with you because I trust you. I'm like, okay, that's very nice of you. And mind you, back then I was not like, I did not know what I was doing. And that shoot changed both of our lives. That was the one shoot that I finally realized, okay, what photography can do, like the empowering, like I know the word empowerment has been overused and it might have lost the meaning, but that's the shoot that made me realize, okay, I can change someone's life by doing this. And because back then I knew, and people tell me like, Natalia, you can take really nice photos. I'm like, yeah, I know I can take really nice photos. So can you, so can the other photographer next door, but I don't want to just settle with, oh, it's just a nice, pretty photo. I wanted something more. And that was the one shoot. I'm like, okay, oh my goodness, this is crazy. And we still talk, like years later, we still talk, me and my friend still talk about that, that photo shoot that changed pretty much both of our lives. And that was the starting point where I decided, okay, you know what, this has potential. And if other people can do it, I can do it as well. So that's my defining moment for boudoir. But previously, a lot of my portfolio work will be around fashion and conceptual portraits and a little bit of events and weddings here and there.
So I have to ask because like this is just looking at the goddess page now, this is genuinely some of the best work I've ever seen in any genre and probably the best boudoir. Yeah. I have to assume that in the other genres, like you probably had the same level of just obsession. So like, can you talk to me about that? Like, how did you get so good? Like, and don't be modest because you are extremely good. Like, how did you get so good? Was it just like practicing every like second of your life? Like how?
I honestly never felt like my work is good. It's always like there was something that I'm missing. So before I started the whole goddess thing, I was doing like, just feminine kind of like ethereal, like, boudoir. So it's still on the boudoir side of things until I told myself, I'm getting bored. Again, this theme of me getting bored really pushed me to doing fun, other exciting things. And then I thought, okay, well, who's telling me that I can't mix fashion or conceptual portraits with boudoir? Because boudoir to me is just like fashion, but less clothing. So I thought, okay, let's see how that goes. And then the feedback from that is amazing. And people really liked it. So I'm like, okay, this is a thing. Let's do this. And so, yeah, it's just a mix of mixing both worlds that I really love, like boudoir, but also the fun, creative side of the goddess part of it into my work.
And like for some of these images here, like, do you do this for like every session, or is this just for some sessions? Is this like an add-on?
Some sessions, add-ons, it just really depends on what my client wants. So I'm led by the client. I work really closely with my clients on, say, like on a one-to-one basis in creating like this very personalized, very tailored photo shoot for each one. So each of my photo shoots with each client would somewhat look different. Similar, yes, but it just really depends on what they want. So we really work on that creative side. I'm like, okay, you want these kind of look or theme or vibe, then we're gonna make it happen.
And how is that done? Is that like through the phone? Is that in person? And like, how much planning does it take you? Because I'm assuming, I know you said similar but different. Like, is every single one like a complete project where like you're going to the store, getting things, ordering online, doing, I don't even know, inspiration boards? Like, how much prep is for each one?
All of my clients would send me an inspiration board or like a Pinterest mood board. And then if I see any images there that remind me of, say, like, oh, like this location or these props or things that I can get and make that happen, then I will. So some of my shoots, I will go to IKEA. I will go to like thrift shops or op shops, as you call it here in Australia, and like sourcing stuff and then making the set for them. And yeah, so that is normally, I would say that would be 30% of the time. And then 70% is a little bit more on the, yeah, this is my flow and I can do things, but it's, you never know, like each client is different.
Is there anyone's work, maybe starting out, whether it's fashion or boudoir, that like you gravitated towards, that you modeled yourself after, or like, styles you feel like you put together to put this together?
It just in terms for clients, or
no, I'm just saying, like, even like artists, like was there any place that you feel like, or any artists, or doesn't even have to be photographers, that you feel like you drew a lot of inspiration from?
Yeah, 100%. One of my biggest like crush in photography would be Elizabeth Messina. She's amazing. Vivian Mock, she's also amazing. I'm just like, so good. And that's, like in terms of getting inspiration, I just follow people who just inspired me. But those starting out, those two people in the creative world really, really pushed me into this soft, like feminine, ethereal kind of like boudoir sort of things. And then along with Lillian Liu, she does really cool goddess like conceptual. Her work is mind-blowing. It's crazy good. And yeah, so it's just a little bit from everywhere. But yeah, I'm really, really glad that Instagram is a thing and I can get inspiration from everyone there on the platform.
And can you talk about, like, I know you were saying like that sometimes you felt something's missing or that it wasn't good enough. I guess how does that affect you? Is it like a positive feeling? Do you feel like when you accomplish things, do you like feel happy after? Do you feel like it motivates you? Like, sometimes people are almost more motivated by like fear of like almost the fear instead of like the end state being so great. So yeah, like how'd that motivate you?
So it's definitely in the process of, well, in terms of motivating myself, I know I can't settle because what I know, if I settle, I'll get bored, and then I'm just gonna be like, well, what's the point? So I use that as like a driving force. I'm like, okay, next time I'm gonna try this. Next time I'm going to try something else. Or if I come up with an idea that I want to try out, say with the model, just like for a creative fun shoot, just for myself, I'm like, okay, I've got this idea that I want to make happen. Like it's been in my head, but I want to make it like a reality, like a proper shoot. Then I can do that. And then depending on, say, the like the feedback from my clients, if they really like it, then I know I can recreate that. And then that end process is not so much me feeling like, oh, I'm not happy with the shoot. Like I might feel like, oh, it's not my best shoot, but just seeing my client's reaction every single time I show them from the back of the camera, or when we do the ordering appointment or the reveal appointment, it just made my heart just even more. Oh, this is the part where I'm like waiting for. So it doesn't. When it comes to client work and how they feel, I try to put like my imposter syndrome aside and just like, okay, you're doing this for them. It's not about how you feel. Like, yes, as a creative, it affects me, but I put the client first. I'm like, okay, this is for them. This is not for me. Even if I feel like I didn't do my best, they don't know, or they feel like $1,000,000. So I'm just gonna hold on to that feeling.
Have you ever had like galleries where like you maybe didn't feel super confident in, but you had like amazing sales with?
Oh yeah, plenty. I'm like, I don't like. I would tell my partner, or like I would tell my sister. I'm like, oh, I don't think today's shoot is, it. I don't think it went well, or I don't think there's a lot of usable images that I feel amazing. And then we did the reveal, and then the clients will be like, yeah, that. Yep, I want that. I want that. And I'm like, okay, how'd you like to pay? So that definitely happened on several occasions. Always surprised me. So just like, I'm just gonna tell myself like, Natalia, you shut up. Like, do not say anything. Let them feel what they need to feel, and then you just help them. And like, but you just have to shut up. Like in my head, like that's what I tell myself.
And for obviously, you're extremely talented at the photography side. For those of you watching live or the replay video, you could see I've been sharing some of her portfolio. And you're obviously extremely talented at that. But sometimes photographers have like a second journey with the business. So which one outpaced which? Were you like exceptional at business first and then your photography got good? Or were you exceptional at photography first and then like your business caught up?
I think I'm more of a creative first than a business person first. I've always been interested in the business side of things because I think making money is fun. I just see that as a game on like, how to move things around. But in terms of selling my services, especially as a creative, as a photographer, as like me in this stage, fresh graduate kind of thing, it's definitely the creative side that comes first before I get to know the ins and outs of selling and business as a creative person.
So we haven't even gotten to that huge sale yet. We touched on it in the first like minute or two, and then obviously it's the title of this. But obviously with such a high sale, like most photographers won't have never been there in their career yet. So yeah, like how obviously that one's really high, but like, do you ever get close to that? Are you ever like half of that? Like, how often are you in like the teens? Is that regular? I mean, it sounded like you were blown away when it happened too. So yeah.
It's so tens are quite like 9 to 10, like 9,000, 10,000 is quite achievable for me, like depending on the client. So I've got a few of those before hitting this big sale. The second biggest one, I think, was last month. It was around 15,000. So it's not super. It's not the closest to the most recent one.
And that's all happening IPS and like in person?
Yes.
And you have obviously the goddess, and maybe is everything going into albums? Can someone do like an entire album out of the goddess, or like how does that work?
Yeah, so I let them choose. So especially if they're getting such a big collection or there's a lot of images, I will let them choose. So everyone gets an album. That is what I love selling, and that's what I love as well. So everyone gets one, whether or not they put their stuff on the wall is a different story. Just because I feel like in Australia, at least with my clients, I can speak based on my experience. My clients are normally homeowners. So if they own a home, they can put stuff on the wall. They normally want that. Or if they're renting, they will say, "Oh, I can't put stuff on the wall," which there's a huge rental market here in Australia. So that might be the reason, one of the reasons why my clients are not too keen on wall art. Or they would have, they come from a more conservative background, and they will say, "Oh, if my friends come over, or if my in-laws come over, or if they're in the army, they would move a lot." So it's just, if someone tells me that they're in the army or in, like working in the army base and they move around a lot, I would actually advise them maybe get a box, say like a folio box in addition to an album instead of a wall art, because then, it's going to save you the effort to move around each and every time. And they're normally quite happy with that proposal, because they can see themselves having to pack everything every single time that they move.
And I mean, again, this is all so stunning. Like, where are most people finding you?
Online, social media.
Really?
Yeah. So TikTok/Instagram is where most of my clients found me. And then now that I've done this for a year and a bit, word of mouth, I've got clients telling me, "Oh, I told my sister, I told my cousin, I told my friends, they need to do a shoot with you." And then it's just, yeah, word of mouth comes into the picture as well.
And is it like your TikTok and your Instagram, or is it like other people sharing your stuff, the clients? Because it seems like you're very active on both.
Both, I think. Like with TikTok is where I get a lot of new people to be like, "Ooh, what is this?" And then they would hang around on my Instagram, and then they'll be like watching me, stalking me. They'll be following me for quite a bit before they say, "Okay, yeah, I want to do this." And then, yeah, that's normally how the progression goes. So TikTok is where I capture a lot of the leads, and then they'll be in the background just watching what I'm doing until they're ready to for their session.
Yeah. And this is so amazing. And I love that, like, you're showing a lot of like the finished product. So not just digitals. So yeah, I mean, can you talk to me about that? Like, are you handling the framing like for them? Are you sending it off and they're doing it? How does that work with some of these items?
So I print some currently. This might change in the future. So currently, I am still printing some of my select prints, but anything bigger, so say like albums, wallet, I just send it off to a lab, and then I just pick it up or get it shipped to me first, and then my clients come and pick it up. So they get to see the albums like firsthand instead of drop shipping it like straight to the client. Like, I know I can do that, but I want to see their reaction. I feel like for myself, that is the last piece of the puzzle. And this whole experience, like, okay, we planned this for so long. We planned it for months and months and months. And this final product is finally here. And here you go. Like, this is my, like, the last hurrah. Yeah. So that's always the funnest part for me, like the most fun part with, yeah, just seeing everything coming together and seeing their reaction.
One of the things that's like so interesting to me as I look at this, like within one row of TikToks, there's like a woman tied up against the background of the galaxy. There's a woman and it says, "I just killed my rich husband" aesthetic. And then
That
there's
is
like a
her
woman.
exact wording. the email. Like, Natalia, you do whatever you want. I just want to feel like I'm murdered my rich old husband. I'm like, done, girl. We can do that.
And then two down from that, it's like a woman in a sports coat, like, and it's super conservative. And it's just so cool. Like that, you're not just saying, oh, I tailor it to my clients. Like you legitimately, it seems like every single one of these was done by like the best photographer in only that genre. And it's so cool.
Oh, thank you. Really appreciate that.
And I'm like, I'm blown away by that because, you know, there's just such a wide variety here. So how does that work with like, because obviously some studios, you know, they might not have as high sales, but they do a lot of volume. So how does that affect you? Like if, you know, I'm assuming maybe you ordered this column and like, you know, put snow down for her and have like a special background for her. How much time do you need between shoots? Like, can you shoot multiple clients in a week?
I can shoot multiple clients in a week, not in a day. So just one client per day, that is more than enough for me. So when we got out of lockdown last year, there was a couple of weeks where I was shooting 4 to 5 sessions per week, and it killed me. I learned the hard way. That's how I knew, okay, that is way too much. So currently I'm only doing 2 to 3, and that's my happy place.
2 to 3. Yeah, this is just so good. And I was not even on your Instagram yet. And it's cool. I mean, it seems like you're showing everything. How do you work? Is it you and a team, your hair and makeup artist? Do you have an assistant? Like who assists you with all this?
Mostly during shoots, it's just me with the client. On very rare occasions would I have an assistant, especially on location, if I need like an extra pair of hands to, you know, help me bring stuff or pack stuff or do stuff with me. Then I'll be getting an assistant on board as well, just to help with the nitty-gritty of things.
And all this video content, like you're filming yourself as well. You're just like creating it as you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, and if you don't mind me asking, like did you ever do digitals, or like were you always like creating the artwork? Were you always doing IPS for this?
I do digital only. Very, very rarely would I offer them. I only offer them to branding or commercial clients. So either, you know, for branding purposes that I know there's no point selling them the prints unless they ask, or to online creators like, you know, OnlyFans. I've got clients who are in the adult industry and, you know, needing content for work. So only then would I be doing digital only sales.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me asking, are you doing packages? Are you doing a la carte?
Both.
Both? So let's just say the average client, they respond to your, I love the I killed my rich husband aesthetic. I want to do something, you know, whatever the case is. Yeah. How would that work for them?
That would go to the pricing list or the investment menu with the products. Unless, you know, it's only different if they say, oh, I need content for my OnlyFans, or I need some branding headshots. And I'm like, oh, okay, then it'll be digital only. Both of that, normally my clients would go for the collections, and not so much the a la carte, because I think I've packaged it in a way after, you know, like experimenting with my pricing, that it just doesn't look very attractive. So they would go for the collection with the prints and with the digitals as well. Because then I would say to them, well, you get the best of both worlds. You get the album, and then you get to share with your friends or with your family or whoever you want to share with online. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So they get to see my perspective in terms of why I do certain things.
Yeah. As far as like, let's just talk about this anonymous Mr. VIP, Mrs. VIP client. Yeah. How did that come in? And was that like something special? Was it a special project, or was it just like every other session? Like they came in, I guess, do you have different session fees for people?
Same session fees for everyone. It's just currently it's just different for weekdays or weekends, because in the past I book a lot of the weekends and then I realized I need time for myself, so I bumped up the price compared to having it on the weekdays. And then yeah, it's just two different ones. I might or might not change this in the near future. We'll see for the next financial year. But yeah, just back to your question about Miss VIP. She's great. Like she knew, she found out about my work, I think, on TikTok, and then she was just there watching what I'm doing, and then she decided to send through an inquiry. We had chatting, she booked, and she prepaid for my second highest collection. So I'm like, okay, done, easy. I can upsell you easy. Which she did, because then I knew, okay, I need to give you a lot of images to choose from. And that is how I managed to get that big sale, I guess.
Yeah. So what would you say to someone who, they might say, because in a lot of groups or sometimes I'm on calls, people say TikTok and Instagram are the worst. It's just people that are young or they don't have money, or, my clients are only here. Like, what's your sentiment on that? Because obviously you seem to be pretty busy everywhere. I saw a Facebook group, I saw TikTok, I saw Instagram. Like, what's your sentiment on that? Do you focus on that, or do you just create content?
I just shared, because regardless of, in terms of lead generation, that might not be the best, just because like getting viral might be, like a hard thing nowadays. But my intention when it comes to TikTok and when it comes to Instagram isn't to find leads. It's just a platform for me to showcase my work. So on my Instagram, I just treat it as like a menu, sort of. So when a potential lead say, oh, I really love my work, I'm like, okay, which one? Like, what do you like? So that is what I use my Instagram for. And then for TikTok, it's just for me to share all these behind the scenes video that's been living, like rent free in my phone, not being seen by other people. So I thought, well, rather than having it, taking up space, might as well show that to people. And then if it does well, it does well. If it doesn't, then so be it. So I try not to get super stressed about, say, like the numbers or getting like the ROI on these two like platforms, that kind of thing. So just, okay, I'm just gonna share. If it's if it goes viral, then okay, cool, yay me. But if it doesn't, then okay, at least it's not in my phone, seen by pretty much no one except me occasionally. So even if it's only like 100 people seeing things on my TikTok, then that's 100 people who have seen the video compared to zero or just me. So that's sort of like my general sentiment on social media, especially on those two platforms.
Yeah, and I mean, it helps that your work is just so good, right? Like the product, a lot of the times I feel people overlook that, right? Like if your product, the better your product is, the easier it is to market, the easier it is that when you show somebody, like they're just going to love it. And I used to do this. I used to tell people for websites, if they said, oh, like, what do you think of this? I would say, go give your phone to somebody, have them scroll through it. And if they tell you, oh, nice, cool, and they hand it back to you, it's like, it's bad. You need them. I want them to say, wow, like, where is this? Like, where do they do this? Like, how do you get in touch? And it's like, until you get that, which obviously I feel like if I handed like your feed to somebody, all my girlfriends or like friends would be like, oh my God, like, where is she? Does she do work around here? Does she travel? Like, when can she be here? So yeah, I mean, it's really awesome that you're sharing all that. And for TikTok, how does that work? Are people like DMing you? Is it like they're going links? And like, how are you even finding out like where people are coming from?
So when they submit an inquiry through my website, I would normally ask them, oh, so how did you find me? And most of the time it will be TikTok first. So TikTok, they will go to my link, and then I will scroll through, like my website, my Instagram, things like that. If they like me enough, then they'll give me a follow, and then they'll they'll just stay within Instagram for a bit. And then, yeah, like when they get the whim of, oh, I should do a photo shoot, or this is something that I've been wanting to do for the longest time, I should do it now. And then when they're ready, then they'll contact me. And I have clients telling me all the time, like, yeah, I've actually been, like following you for like months, like months and months before sending through an inquiry, or I thought about it and then I forgot, and then I see your TikTok again and then I get reminded. So we started chatting, and then so it's whenever the client's ready to contact me, because like I want them to be emotionally ready. I want them to be financially ready to be, investing in themselves and investing in this photo shoot experience, rather than, like, oh, taken aback by surprise. Like, even if it takes them a year plus to prepare. I've got clients who contacted me back in 2020, and she told me back then that the investment was a little bit too much. And since she inquired, I think I've doubled my prices, and she booked. And
what, if you don't mind me asking, what is the minimum?
I don't say there's a minimum. It's just whatever my lowest collection is. So when I gave her the range, she's like, oh yeah, I'll think about it. And then a year later, she messaged me again, and she said, oh, back then it wasn't financially viable for me to do a photo shoot, but after going through the ups and downs in life, like within that 1 year, I think I want to do this for myself, and I'm going to invest in myself. And she prepaid my middle collection so far. So if they've prepaid, I can easily like upgrade them to at least the next collection, or like 2 collections up. So I just let them know.
And how do you keep in touch with somebody that tells you that? Like, do they stay on an email list? I know that you post so much on social media, so like if they're following you and they love your work, they're going to see you there. But are you following up any other way, whether it's DM, I don't know, messengers or email, phone?
So far only after they inquire. So if after the chat they say, oh, let me think about it, and then I'll just send them like an email saying, hey, how's it going? Do you want to do a shoot? Yes or no? And then if they say like, oh, I'll have to save up or whatever, then I'm like, okay, whenever you're ready, just let me know. But in the meantime, you can join my Facebook group. So I'll let them, like at their own time, to contact me again, or to just join the Facebook page to keep updated.
I think it's really cool that I feel like you have like a very like not like almost like a troubleshooting mindset, or like very optimistic, where it's like, oh, even if they said no now, like I'll just keep doing this and I'll keep being in front of them. And it's almost like you're always just, you know what I mean? It's like very optimistic. And it obviously pays off. So is there anything that you've troubleshoot recently? Anything that like you've improved, like in your, maybe it's TikTok, Instagram, is there like just anything that you've implemented lately that like you've done that in kind of the spirit of like improving processes?
Recently it would be around like the system workflows, on really nailing that client experience. Like, I know I can nail that easy, but I wanted a little bit more time in preparing for photo shoots. So I'm implementing like ways and strategies on how to make that workflow easier, and for having like a very organized system for me to do that and to plan in advance, because I was shooting so much, I couldn't plan for the next like few shoots. If they needed, like, if they wanted an add-on, or if I need like to get some props kind of thing, like it's too much of a last minute thing for me, just because it was so hectic. So now it's just creating ways for me to avoid doing that again.
And are you doing that with like questionnaires, reminders for yourself? Like what basically what steps are you automating there?
I'm a very pen and paper person. I've got everything in my CRM, but even then I thought, oh, having a CRM would be helpful in terms of, planning, but I find that it's in my head, it becomes too much. So I've got my handy little notebook, and I just write down my client's name, their session, who I booked for the hair and makeup artist, because I do work with a few girls, and then all the notes that they've told me. So say if they wanted to do like a shibari or an add-on for a bathtub, like a floral bathtub session, or they want a lot more florals, or they want like a more like a darker gothic kind of like vibe. So I know who says what, instead of realizing the day before, I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to book, I don't know, like the shibari artist, or I forgot to book a location for the shoot. So just preventing those scenarios to happen.
Yeah. And this client, when they, the big one this month, when they booked, it was all in your studio. Everything was in your studio.
Yes. Yeah.
How often do you need to leave?
Once or twice a month.
Oh, really? And will you still do part of it like in your studio, or?
So if they say, oh, I want to have like a very certain look, we agreed on a location, we booked a location, we set everything up there. So the whole shoot would be at the location, because there's no way we can, we have the energy to be traveling back and forth to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And as far as, I mean, the booking process, because I'm sure for a lot of people, it's kind of like, where do I find these people? I know you talked about being super consistent on TikTok. Is there anywhere else like you're doing paid advertising anywhere?
No, I haven't. So far, it's one of the areas that I haven't delved into. So I haven't spent any dollars on paid advertising yet.
And would you even have the capacity, like if you were doing, like, would you want to, or are you just pretty busy right now?
I'm pretty happy for now, but if I wanted to try something new, because it is something that I haven't tried and I would like to try and see how it goes for myself, then it's something that I'll give it a go.
And I have to ask some questions before we go for the super fanatical photographers. What camera system are you shooting with?
I shoot with Fujifilm.
Really?
Not a full frame. Yes. I love the colors.
You said it's not a full frame?
It's not.
I'm not buying this. It's not a full frame.
No, my clients can't tell. Most photographers can't tell.
Holy
They don't care what they don't care what camera I use. And I love the colors. I've been shooting with Fujifilm cameras since I started sort of like professional photography-ish. I used to have a Canon and then I swapped to Fujifilm, and haven't changed since.
Is it like the X100?
So I'm currently using the XT series.
XT, is that like higher? I don't know. I don't even know. They're both crop sensors, I'm assuming.
All of them are crop sensor. The step up would be the GFX system, and that is a medium format. So Fujifilm does not have a full frame system.
And then lighting wise, because I think on TikTok, some of this behind the scenes, I might be like seeing on location stuff. But lighting, is your studio natural light? I'm assuming most of it is strobes.
No, all natural light.
All of it's natural. I felt like I saw a flash in one of them.
No, I don't have space for flash.
Oh my God. I'm even more blown away. So far, I thought the lighting was so perfect that I was like, of course, she's using all the most beautiful lighting tools in the world. And I never would have guessed you were using a crop sensor camera. I'm assuming it's a lot lighter. Are you also using like the crop lenses and the full frame lenses, or the full frame? I don't even think they have full frame lenses, right?
No, it's just whatever Fujifilm comes up with. So I use the native lenses that Fujifilm has. So I just roll with it.
By the way, the comments are already like, holy crap, all natural light and crop sensor. You're you're making us all self-conscious right now, Natalia.
That was only because, well, big, um, so back then, one of my exes was a photographer. He was, I think he still is, I don't know. Um, he's a creative and does photography, and he told me, what's the point of spending so much money on, like, on gear when you can just do the same thing, earn more money, but you have less cost upfront. And I just thought, you make sense. So I just stuck with it when I had, like early on, when I had thoughts about, whether should I, should I upgrade to a GFX, or should I upgrade to like at least a full frame, because that is what the industry standard is. But then after he said it, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So if at any time, if I wreck my camera, I can afford to buy a new one and just replace that. And I would feel less sad if, like if I need to change things, with a crop sensor versus a full frame, because a new full frame here, at least in Australia, is much more expensive than like a Fujifilm system camera.
The GFX is what, like 7,000, 9,000 then?
US, in USD, wow. It was around there.
And just because comments, you're not the standard girl, you're the industry standard. What lens do you have a go-to lens, prime lenses, or zoom?
So I've got the full frame equivalent of 35. So that is the one lens that normally is stuck to my camera body for most of my shoots. Most of the indoor ones.
So it's like a 24 millimeter crop?
23.
23, wow. And it's a prime lens, like 1.8 or something like that?
1.4.
1.4. Wow, that's really cool. I'm not even familiar with the Fuji line of lenses. So like hearing 23, 1.4 is... yeah. And do you do your own retouching?
Yes.
You do all of your own retouching?
Yeah. I know it's something that I need to outsource, but I'm still doing it.
That's so awesome. And do you spend most of your time in like Lightroom or Photoshop?
Lightroom. I'm a sucker in Photoshop.
You're a what in Photoshop?
I can't do Photoshop. I can't do much of Photoshop. I can do basic things, but I can't manipulate things like some of the photographers in the group.
All right, now you're just showing off. Now you're just showing off because we believed crop sensor, got it. We believed natural light, but now you want us to believe that this is not Photoshop?
No, it's only Lightroom. I just tweak a little of the like the color, the balance, the warmth, brightness.
And the audience wants to know, do you do the props, like the ones like the butterfly on the face? Like, where do you get the props? Do you make
it? So most of the props are either, most of my stuff like backdrops, props, they're all thrifted, or I get it secondhand from Facebook Marketplace. I go around thrift shops or op shops, and a lot of, like, say for example, that pink dress, that is just a piece of very long tulle that I just bunched up and make into like a fake dress kind of look. So it's just whatever I can do to fake it in the camera, and then taking the shot, and then and then just go from there.
So some photographers have like a boudoir like wardrobe. Do you have like that and like a whole set kind of like construction site going on, or can you pull out not old things, but things that you've used in the past and clients want at the end?
I could. So when my sentiment when it comes to client wardrobe is that it needs to fit a lot of sizes. So I don't stock individual ones. I would stock like some lingerie items just in the cases of emergency. My clients would bring in their own wardrobe, their own stuff, and say things like robes, gowns, dresses, wings, I would have them. But in terms of one size item, they would have to bring it themselves.
Gotcha. And then, yeah, so for a photographer that's, just starting out in boudoir, like what advice would you have for them? They're starting out, they just did their fourth session, maybe one of them is paid. Like, what would you do if you were starting over?
I thought about this. I think if I were to start over again from scratch, I would make sure my portfolio is, I'm happy with where I'm at first, because that is, for me, is the creative side first before the business side of things. And then I'll just come in with the expectation of, okay, I'm doing this for me first. If someone else, like a potential client, likes me for my work, for who I am, then they'll come. And always keeping in the mindset of, okay, if that person can do it, I can do it as well. And that, I guess, like life, like I've taken that phrase, that sentence, to be applicable to every areas of my life, every single stage. Back in high school, I've been telling myself, okay, if that student, that kid can get an A, so can I. What's stopping myself from getting an A? The same as uni, doing my master's, graduating, doing business. Like I remember telling myself when I started this journey doing IPS and things like that, I'm like, okay, if that person can do that, if they can earn thousands of dollars in one go for one sale, what's stopping me? So it's really taking off that self-talk. I feel like that self-talk is one of the biggest things that can make or break something, is what you tell yourself. And yes, I've got days where I'm like, oh, can I really do this? But, just gonna counteract that and like, okay, that person can do it, so can I. Like, what's stopping me? Like, I'm alive, I'm healthy, I've got, I'm fairly energetic sometimes on some days. They are as well, or if not, they're a little bit older than me, but what's stopping me? So yeah, just keeping that mindset of positive thinking.
What has been the hardest thing for you?
In terms of business, or in terms of like this whole journey?
Yeah, both. Like whether it's the photography side, the business side.
I think it will be going back to the whole, I guess, like notion or self-worth. So it's one of the biggest ones. Like I had the same thoughts when I started, like, who am I to be charging? Will people pay? Would people want me? Would people want my work? Like what makes, my work so special? Like other photographers who are charging less are like so amazing. So that was one of the biggest hurdle that I've experienced, like having to go through that. And it's not easy. Like, I'm a firm believer in like, when I've crossed through a barrier, there would be bigger issues ahead. It's like new level, new devil kind of thing. Like, okay, if I've jumped through this hoop, that's going to be a bigger hoop to jump. And I just have to keep myself, accountable to myself, surround myself with people who are supportive of my work, of my journey as well. And yeah, just keep doing at that. And like telling myself, okay, it's just in your head. If whoever can do this, or whoever can do that, so can you. So it's a lot of the self-talk and the self-worth and everything that comes into that.
Do you write any of this?
Like in a blog?
No, like just write for yourself anywhere.
I like writing things down, but when I write things down, is the things that I look forward to. So I would write goals. So I'll buy like a planner, or like a little diary thing, and then it would ask, oh, for this year, so say earlier this year, 2022, what are your goals for this year? And I just, okay, think about big scary dreams, and I'll just write it. And then that's a way for me to keep myself accountable. Like, well, you've written this down. Like you can't just back out of it. So I just stuck through and like see if like how close I can get to that goal that I've set early in the year.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I really appreciate it. I'm sure everyone's going to want to click on your link and know more about you. Me and you spoke before, and you told me if anybody wanted to talk to you more about, learning what you do, where would they find you?
So it's just Natalia Naa, NAA. My website, my Instagram, my TikTok, everything's just Natalia Naa, or my Facebook, same thing. Everything's the same name. So just find me there if you've got any questions, things like that. And yeah, no, thank you so much for having me today.
I'm going to put you now, you're at like the top of my list where, people are always like, oh, what photographer should I hire? I'm gonna be like, okay, get a flight to Melbourne, go see this lady, call her, have her plan your shoot, do anything except to kill my rich husband.
That'll be great.
Do you come here? Do you ever come here at all?
I haven't. That's still on my list to do.
And have you considered doing like travel workshops or anything like that?
I thought about it, but that was the last time that I thought about it was during the COVID lockdown. So I'm like, okay, maybe one day when the world's open up again, then I'll be open to that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing it. And honestly, I would probably sign up. You'd be like, Umberto, what are you doing here with your crop sensor camera like me? We're like, I don't know.
They come join me in that little crop sensor club.
Yeah. I will say I appreciate it just because it doesn't hurt your hands and after a long time. And yeah, again, blown away by learning everything about you. I loved hearing about your story, your journey, and just the pressures and how you overcame everything. So if you guys are looking for her, and I'm already getting comments, she needs to be one of the instructors at Boudoir Live. That could actually be a good time to come to the US. Come to Vegas next year, be on stage.
They'll be great. Yeah, I've got a year to prepare, sort of.
Yeah, this is a formal invite. So thank you so much. And yeah, we'll see you in the group.
Thank you again, everyone. Have a good one.
Bye.